Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 12th of April. So, well, bit of a mixed bag yesterday on the data front, but either way, we saw interest rates left alone by the ECB as expected. They didn't really want to give out a lot of information either, and that's pretty much expected. And and also the US inflation wasn't as high as some might have expected, but it was still increasing at this moment and not reducing. It seems that it gave the market a bit of a heebie-jeebies, but I can't really see that technically. I think it's just words that are out there at the moment. What we're seeing at the moment is the euro. And right this moment, we're seeing the euro being sold, the pound being sold quite strongly. It's a move that's happening. I'm not going to try and jump on board it at the moment. I'd like to have got into another trade on it, but it's off at the moment, and there isn't a lot I can do on that right this moment. So, well, you can jump in, and then at 8 o'clock it just turns and goes the other way. So I'm not willing to sit and risk that. So I just come back. You see it actually it's 3 o'clock, but yesterday morning, look, 8 o'clock went completely the opposite way initially, and then rolled over, then had a bit of news out, and boom. Anyway, right, so euro looks set for the downside technically. I don't want to be in anything but the downside on that. I need retraces to sell into. I'm not selling into, trying to sell into what could be lows. We're pretty much close to that previous low there. Actually, it's just gone through now. There's some other support levels coming through, but it's off. The pound, well, it had a better day yesterday actually, and it is a bit more sticky and holding on there a tad, but again, we've broken these absolute lows here. We're looking like it's going to run off a bit more today. Goldman Sachs have suggested there'll be less interest rate cuts than previously thought, but that doesn't count for much in these markets at the moment, and the markets are I'm sort of seeing a bit of a head and shouldery pattern that's kicking through here, and just expecting it to come off some more in terms of the price action. However, getting into the trade is easier said than done at the moment, because as with the euro, it's rolling over. Now it has found a bit of support potentially into its S1 here and its previous lows, so it's a little bit hanging in there a little bit better than the euro in some respects, but still looking soft on the bigger time frames. I don't have a trade set up around this price action at the moment. US dollar yen, I'd like to say, well, I'll do this or that, but there's nothing I really want to be doing on that. Yen slowed up its price action yesterday. I think there's still quite significant risk sitting in this yen in terms of being on the long side of the dollar yen. However, I don't want to be shorting it against what is technically still in a pretty strong uptrend, and the way it's sitting into its R3s, its weekly R3s here, it does look like, well, it's just another case of consolidation with the potential of pushing up further. There's a lot of people sitting here wondering when the Bank of Japan's going to intervene or do something, but it seems like they're put their head in the sand at the moment. Maybe, I don't know, but normally they would have said something by now. Who knows? We could get some commentary out later, but it just leaves us with risk, because we know they possibly will do, but the uncertainty of whether they will or whether they won't. Okay, the Australian dollar. Now this is one that's been moving. It's a bit like the pound actually yesterday. We had a positive day yesterday slightly, but at the moment I'm just looking at this sort of 4-hourly picture, bear flag. There is a positive movement. It's pulled away from that, and again it's looking like it's got further downside as I'm looking at it at the moment. But it's right on the verge of. Let me just get a trend line now. I think it's just breaking at the moment. There's a possibility if we get something I just want to see a little retrace and maybe a move down or something post 8 o'clock. I don't like selling into the 8 o'clock, any 8 o'clock price action. It often finds support and reverses. Not always, and this might be one of those that just goes on without us. The CAD's doing the same thing here. It's broken out there. It is certainly, for me at the moment, I'd only be a buyer of the dollar CAD. So the dollar's still stretching its legs a little, but again, no immediate setup for me. That fits my strategies, because we're into points of resistance, potentially the R1, previous highs here. It's pre 8 o'clock. I just don't trust the moves. New Zealand dollar, pretty similar to the Aussie dollar. There's not a lot more to really say about this. If it had been earlier in the week, I'd have been looking at this as more, and possibly would still look at it maybe into next week to short for a continuation down towards the lows, and maybe some further selling on this. It just doesn't look strong at all. Everything is looking poor for the New Zealand dollar at this stage, but no setups there. US dollar Swissy, this is still pushing to the upside overall. Yesterday a bit of a retracement. We're pushing back up there at the moment. It's not dissimilar from the other markets at this stage, looking like it wants to continue to the upside, but again, post 8 o'clock, see what it does. If it gets a bit of a retrace, I think there's better markets to be trading though. Euro yen stalling a little bit yesterday in the end, and selling off this morning. The euro just softer, breaking the trend lines here. The pivot level is broken, its weekly pivot there, looking softer. I was looking for that to happen earlier in the week, but it held up, but it's gone this time. Maybe we all get a bit more of a correction, but every time I look back at it and look at this daily, I just think it's still an upward trend overall. Right, other pairs we've been looking at. So just unfortunately, lots of chop. We've got a sort of a potential change of direction here with a continuation, but there's a lot of these. The pound had stretched its legs at times, then only to give back. So for now, it's going to be a wait, see what the market gives us this morning. I'm afraid on the Forex side, it's certainly not clear, and as I say, I don't like early moves. Gold, well, if you're trading gold, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but for goodness sake, look, it's still going higher and it's pushing into new highs here. We're just seeing it pushing it up and up. The temptation is for traders to be selling into this. All I can see is opportunities. Well, I would like to see more opportunities to buy. It's not had much of a retracement, even on this hourly. Had this bit of a mix yesterday. It eventually broke out later on though. 5 o'clock-ish time, started breaking and pushing, and off it is again. The risk with Middle East situation, with oil and gold, is, well, I said a risk, but the potential is only to the upside at the moment. Talking of oil, well, oil's consolidating more than anything else at the moment, but it is consolidating around its near-term high. Quite ugly, sort of. It's not quite a pennant. It's actually a bit of a wedge pattern sitting there at the moment. So we have the potential of a breakout at the top of the wedge if it does move, but it's been an ugly one to try and trade, and hence I've been leaving it alone lately. It's a lot of leaving it alone lately, but you've got to do that to markets when they're just not doing too much for you. S&Ps, well, we've got news coming out. We've got three central banks. That's not what I meant. Three major banks reporting at least later on today. So be wary of those. They're probably quite profitable in the higher interest rate economy that we're in, so that they'll do quite well out of that. Looking at this overall, yes, traders may want to be trying to get into it. They're on the short side and try and trade it, but for me, the potential is more to the upside than downside, and particularly with those banks reporting, unless they come out really poorly. But we saw yesterday the Nasdaq getting more of a kicker. You see it's broken out through. If I come back to the dailies there, much bigger movement there. Saw some really decent shoves up yesterday in the market. So every time I see an email that I try and block and everything else, but I tend to get these emails coming through saying the market's going to crash. Best thing is to ignore it. Yep, at some stage it will crash. They'll be right, just like a stop clock's right, twice a day, but once a day if it's 24 hour. But here we've got these markets. To me, they're consolidating. They've got more chance of going upwards than downwards. Right, the DAX, here we go. It's going upwards this morning. It's picking up. This might have some more. This might give a opportunity if we get maybe into next week. Now I'm just looking. It's had this series of lower highs, lower lows. It's had a decent retrace actually. So it's really a case of waiting for the confirmed move. We're probably below trend, but it's been a bit mixed. It did sell yesterday morning quite nicely, sold off. It was in that sort of lower highs, lower lows on these intermediate time frame and the lower time frame. It could be setting to switch here. It hasn't structurally changed yet, so I would leave that as is for now, but maybe into next week we get opportunities jump aboard. And the FTSE, well, the FTSE is just consolidating around the highs there. If there's opportunities, it looks like it's got a bit more get up and go in it at the moment for sure. It's not quite 8 o'clock yet. We'll see what happens, but looking a bit more positive. Okay, finally, quick look over the crypto side of things for those that are looking at Bitcoin. It's not quite up to its previous highs there, but it's edging in that sort of direction. So pushing potential over the weekend probably is for further upside here. Certainly ugly old day yesterday for sure, but the more it's sort of failing at this level here, and the more it comes back to test it, holding on this time, not failing so far, looks like that could continue. But really should only be looking at that on the higher time frames, and it still looks reasonably positive there. Right, okay, I'm going to leave it there. I wish you a great day's trading and a great weekend, and I'll catch you on Monday on YouTuber. Bye for now.